get a lot of emails from people who say, I don't know what to write about. And they only know that they need to write, but they don't quite know how to get it out. There's a block there. And the biggest piece of advice that I give to them and that I offer myself whenever I feel that block is like, you just have to sit down and dive in. Sometimes it feels like work. We all look at finished products, books, songs, all of them. We look at the finished product and we think that this beautiful piece of work just poured out of someone. And that's not the case.
Ah, yes, the always valuable reminder that you have to put your ass in the chair and work, bitch. We all need to hear that from time to time. And today's episode is all about that, about writing practice, the daily grind of it, the unsexy truth of how we manifest our writing goals by showing up and allowing ourselves to get words on the page, however messy they might be at first. Over the past year and a half, I've been doing that over on 750words.com. You might have heard me mention it before on the podcast. I'm not always working on my memoir. Sometimes I let myself work on a newsletter or maybe a writing assignment that I've been procrastinating, or even my diary. But the important thing is the habit that makes it easier for me to commit to showing up every single day and letting myself be bad. And we're going to dive into this topic today with the perfect guest, Kellianne Benson of 750 Words. There's nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at a typewriter and bleed. Welcome to The Bleeders, a podcast and support group about book writing and publishing. I'm writer and podcaster Courtney Kosak, and each week I'll bring you new conversations with authors, agents, and publishers about how to write and sell books.
Hi, my name is Kellianne Benson, and I am the community manager and director for 750 Words.
So, I am a huge fan. I love 750words.com and it's changed my writing practice. But for listeners who may not know, fill everybody in. What is it?
So 750 Words is a habit change application that encourages free writing and tracks your streaks and has a badging system and a point system to gamify things and make it fun. You can get different badges for the amount of time your words are streaking. And there are lots of different badges to get. And then on top of that, it has an algorithm built into it that checks out some of the metrics of your words and tries to get a read on your mood, which is really fun, I think. Not always to be completely trusted because robots are not people and They don't always get nuance, but they're pretty funny to watch.
It is interesting to see sometimes if you're like writing a certain kind of essay or something, and then you're like, oh, that is present focused and, angry, whatever the feeling is. It's so funny. So yeah, I think I have a streak of like 130 days right now.
That's a really good one.
It's a pretty good streak. And I really only missed 2 days since I started. And one was like just a computer glitch, just like something happened and I clicked away too soon or something like that. And then one was like a legit miss. But I mean, that is habit changing because it's been probably like 6 months since I started.
It's interesting because even, I've been working with Buster on 750 Words since the beginning, but really intently for a decade now, 10 years. And I just recently have a streak that is not long, but I'm really proud of it.
Awesome.
It's like, I think I got a flamingo badge the other day for 10 days of writing in a row, which is usually my maximum because I'm just not, it's also work for me. So I'm always typing in it, but I don't always finish. But now I'm really into writing my words every day. And I'm like, how long is this going to go? And I think Buster's at like a 250-day streak right now.
Ooh.
And I think that this is the longest he's gone. Maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, it really does I'm super motivated now. I will not go to bed if I haven't finished my writing, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's helping me be better in other ways too. Like I will leave a party early if I have my words to finish. So I'm like, that's probably just good overall. I don't
I
need
won't
to
have
have
that
another
last
drink. Yeah.
cocktail, right? Yeah, it's super motivating. And, we have some users who have been with us since the beginning who have like thousands of days
Whoa.
that they have been streaking. They are amazing. And it is completely a part of their daily writing habit. And I love hearing from them and talking to them. That's the best part of my job is I get to hear from writers around the world, and they're all writers. So I get great emails
Right.
about where they are in their journey.
That's very cool. I want to talk about any success stories that you've heard of in a minute, but first let's get the origin story. So
Yes.
how did this get started?
Well, I was pregnant with Buster and I's first child, who is now 12. And he was reading a lot of self-help books. He's really into self-help books. And we had a long period of our relationship where he would read self-help books and we would sort of summarize and chat about them over dinner, which was great for me because I don't love reading self-help books. And he read this one book about the creative process called The Artist's Way. It's by Julia Cameron. It was written in 1992. And it's all about how she keeps her flow going. And there's just like so much excellent information in there. But our big takeaway, we're both writers in some capacity. And our big takeaway was her chapter on writing what she calls morning pages, which tracks to being about 750 words a day. And she recommends in her book that the morning pages are handwritten. So we had this big conversation of like, do you think that handwritten morning pages is really like, is that kind of a generational thing? Is that something that the kids are going to want to do? And we came to know each other through the live journal community many years ago.
Oh,
so we're both,
I love that.
I know, it's really cute. It's really cute. That's not how we met, but we were in community there. That's kind of what our community back then was based around. And we're very comfortable with typing. So we had this long conversation of like, do you really think it needs to be handwritten to tap into certain parts? And what we came to is like, when you're really in flow, typing is the easiest, fastest way to get the words and the thoughts and the feelings out onto the page. We do both use handwriting for other things. It definitely taps into some different parts of the brain. And it's actually like somatically really interesting to me to think about the different parts that each way of writing sparks for me. But generally speaking, like we want to be typing, and we felt like at the time we were like, millennials want to be typing. Like our children are going to want to be typing in general. Like we're changing the way things are written and expressed through technology. And he was like, yeah, but there's no app to really just have a clean place to write that counts your words and doesn't have any distractions. And he was like, I could just build one. And he built it really kind of on paternity leave while we were making this baby. And
two babies.
Yeah, there was another baby 6 years later. Yes.
and 750 words.
Yeah, which is, we never expected it to be running and this amazing community all of these years later. We never really expected it to be a small business that we are still maintaining. This was not, there was no plan.
I feel like that kind of speaks to like, there was no plan and yet it's 10 years later and it's like,
yeah,
you have a big community and I feel like there's so much even growth potential there. So I think that speaks to like how it's helping people. So have you heard any stories? Have you heard back from people that are like, this helped me finish my book? Or
so many stories. There are so many stories of people who are writing their dissertation and they were able to stick to their goals through using our application. People who are writing books. There is a huge NaNoWriMo community out there that uses our app. I hear from poets. I hear from songwriters, and I'm hearing from songwriters more and more because we changed the way you could do verses in the new app. And I write a lot of verse, so I'm really into those changes. I hear from older people, and I hear from very young people who are students. I hear from 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds. Like, it really clicks with a lot of people, and it's really magical for me to talk to those people and to feel connected in this way.
So has it helped you finish anything that you've been working on?
Well, my latest thing in the past few years since COVID, I started to sort of make this move away from writing in memoir and trying to write more in verse, because I felt like my emotions were getting lost in my specifics of describing and getting lost in things that were too personal. And I really just wanted to like get to the root and share the core of my feelings during COVID, the dread, the sadness, the connection or lack of connection. Buster and I actually went through a divorce during COVID. And it's funny because it's not something that we've talked about professionally at all. So I'm going to talk about it here on your podcast. But it was a heavy time for both of us. And so for me, locking into the emotion and talking about that instead of the details, because we can get so lost in the details of memoir, became so precious to me. And I started writing a lot more in flow and not caring so much what was written and trying not to overthink it or, get into all of the bad patterns that we can get into when we're journaling, really like writing about complaints or writing that is very self-focused. I just really wanted to focus on these universal truths.
That's so beautiful.
And the state of like being human. So I started using it in a completely different capacity than I was ever using it before. And we also, during all of this, started to write V2 of 750. It's actually been a couple of years in the making. We launched it last year. But in the initial website in V1, it doesn't really, it's old. I mean, it was written 12 years ago. It's running on legacy code. Honestly, like we're not even sure how it's still going. People still love it. We can no longer fix V1 because fixing it breaks something else. So we decided it was time to write something new. So we took this time of like tremendous upheaval in the whole world's life and in our life, and collaborated on this new 750 words baby. And because of the way the old one was written, it couldn't handle the formatting of poetry or verse or songwriting or anything like that. And it didn't matter because the whole thing was supposed to be flow of consciousness.
Yeah. Part of the beauty of it is that you can't do too much formatting.
Right. Exactly. But for the new one, I was like, I gotta be able to write in verse. Everybody started their new hobby in COVID, and mine was I picked up a guitar and like became a person I've always wanted to be on the inside, but never could be, which is a songwriter. So I started to write in flow and in verse. And it's been the ability on the new version to do that. And not just to do that, but you can, there's a couple of preferences. You can write in dark screen mode. Buster built a really fun one. I wonder how many people use it. That's called invisible screen mode, where you can't even see what you're typing, which is really fun to experiment with from time to time. So that's some of the changes. Like, it's just cooler. It's like new code, and it's updated, and it's slicker. It's just cooler. It has more bells, and it doesn't have too many bells and whistles because that's not what we're into. We want it to be really, really simple, but it's got more bells and whistles.
It's 2.0. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe even 3.0. Like When was Web 2.0? Like that was probably a little while ago. Are we in Web 3.0 now? I don't know.
Wow. Okay. Look at us. Yeah. Well, I think I'm just such a creature of habit that I'm just like, well, this is working. And so I haven't moved it over yet. But
Yeah, a lot of people are. I mean, that's the thing with habit building, right? Like some people are really upset about V2, not many. Most people are really happy. But of course, with any change that you're going to give to someone's habit, people get very protective and defensive. It's really understandable. So I've spent the last year answering all the email about it and answering all the questions and really just like,
it's going to be okay, writers.
it is different. It's going to be okay. Give it a try. You can start new habits.
Does your stuff transfer over?
Yes. You can merge the two accounts and it does transfer over. It's still like if you click on the days in the new version, it really just leads you to a page of the old version, but it all transfers. You would have to start a different account for the second version, but then you merge the two accounts and yeah.
And that's the hard part. That's it.
That's the hard part, but we couldn't really just update the first version because it was just, the code was too old to completely revamp it. Like we've been patching it together for 10 years and we just needed a fresh slate.
Yeah.
So we did it.
Fair enough. How big is the community? I feel like you have like thousands, right? Like 3 or 4.
Yes. I feel like 3,000 or 4,000 is a pretty good estimation. And we have, there are a lot of people who are not active writers who bop in and out, but at any given time, I think there's 3,000 or 4,000 writers, which is so cool. It's so cool.
It's very cool. Okay. Do you guys have any other future plans?
Well, we're still ironing out some kinks in V2. I'm constantly proposing new ideas based on what people write me and based on my use. And of course, Buster uses it every day too. So there's always little tweaks in mind. And we always have, we have a Slack channel with lists of ideas. But the big launch was a year ago. And that was like the big, the big thing that we put forth into the world. And now I think it's mostly just tweaks. But that said, Buster did recently, a couple of months ago, start working for Medium. He hadn't had like a big job in a while and had just been working on 750 while we transitioned everything. And now he's taken on a job with Medium. So there, who knows what could come out of that in collaboration. In the past, we've done some NaNoWriMo stuff. We were very involved in that community for a while. Buster was on the board for a while and we have a lot of friends who volunteer with them. So yeah, I mean, it's really, I guess, just being a part of this expansive community of wordy people.
I love it. So yeah, this episode is going to be my last one of the year. And I'm kind of talking about my writing goals and just how you can kind of like achieve those things through your daily practice. So I wanted to ask you if you have any big 2023 writing or publishing goals.
I do. Well, in 2022, I managed to write 3 solid songs. So,
nice.
My publishing goal is actually I have a vacation where I'm going to record a demo for like right before the start of the year. And then after the start of the year, there will be some tweaking of those tracks before we release it. So my goal is 4 songs that I want to share with the world. I write a lot of songs that I do not want to share with anyone ever. You got to go through a lot of bad to like get out some good. And so my goal is 4 songs in 2023. And I actually would really, really like to complete 365 days of writing. I really want that badge. I've got my eye on it. I'm headed for my albatross now. Albatross is 100 days. And I think that the fact that it's an albatross is really interesting to me because my writing is not quite habitual yet. It does feel like an albatross from time to time. It's not natural that I ease right into it. And then the next one is a griffin, I think is 365 days a year, which is like 12 albatrosses. That thing is huge, it's an eagle and it's a lion. So I really want that griffin.
I want that Griffin badge too. Geez.
I want that Griffin badge, and I want, 4 songs that I want to publish and give to the world and add to my album.
Awesome. Keep me posted. I will share them with
Thanks.
this community. So, do you have any advice for just writers in general who might never have heard of 750 words or regardless that are trying to manifest their literary goals this year? Anything you've learned about practice or
Yeah, I get a lot of emails from people who say, I don't know what to write about. And they only know that they need to write, but they don't quite know how to get it out. There's a block there. And the biggest piece of advice that I give to them and that I offer myself whenever I feel that block is like, you just have to sit down and dive in. Sometimes it feels like work. We all look at finished products, books, songs, all of them. We look at the finished product and we think that this beautiful piece of work just poured out of someone.
Mhm.
And that's not the case. Like, that's just not that. I'm sure that sometimes it does pour out, but you've got to get past the block first. So I think that the most important thing is to just sit down and write whatever comes to mind. Maybe it's the same word over and over and over again, or the same phrase over and over and over again. That's all a part of your process. And it doesn't mean you're not getting anything done, because the journey is long. The journey is long.
That's so good. Yeah, I am constantly reminded of like, you're your own worst enemy. All you have to do
Yeah.
is show up and like let yourself be bad. And that is how you are good. Like, that's
Yeah. Yeah. Let yourself be bad.
Why is that such a hard lesson?
I don't know. We just want to be these like complete beings without without work, and being complete requires some push.
Thank you for making this thing that makes it a little bit easier. I'm going to say a bit easier for me, at least.
I love it so much. Thank you so much for being a part of it. It's just, and for telling people about it. It really means a lot to us.
Thank you so much to Kellianne. That was such a great combo. And I love that she went there with me, like about her divorce and everything. You got to keep it real. So wishing her the best. Like I have been saying, 750words.com has been a game changer for me. I started about 1.5 years ago. I was super consistent for the first year or so, and then I've been more sporadic since then. Some months I do it every day, and some months I do it whenever I feel like it. I feel like that was especially the case when I was in heavy rewrite mode on my book. I just didn't have the bandwidth for it, but it has definitely helped me develop more of a daily writing practice, and it gives me a container for a lot of my loose writing, which is really nice. And I am going to try to do my 750 words every single day in 2024. And if you want to join me, I think you can try it for 30 days free. And then it is $5 a month after that. And it is worth every single penny, I promise you. So for this last part of the episode, I wanted to review what I accomplished in 2023 and then share my goals for 2024. I did something similar last year and I want to keep the tradition going. But first, I need to ask you for a quick favor. If you could please rate and review the podcast wherever you are listening right now. If you are on Spotify, you just go to the upper left-hand corner of the Bleeders page, you click the star button, and then you click all 5 stars. And if you're listening on like Apple Podcasts, you can give it a 5-star rating and review. Really, wherever you are listening, it would help. It makes it look sexier when I'm trying to book guests. It makes me feel good. It signals to new listeners that this is a good podcast. All of the above. So I would really appreciate it if you could give the show a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening right now. Thank you so much. Okay, so I went into 2023 focused on both screenwriting and finishing my memoir, kind of in equal measure.
But due to the fact that I got a literary agent for books in April, and then the writer's strike started in May, and just generally how much I was enjoying the book writing process. And it's very solitary in a way, and I love that. It's like collaborative when you want it to be, and solitary the rest of the time, and you can just be thinking and obsessing about it all the time, and I just love it. So anyway, I went all in on my memoir, and I finished the full draft on my birthday, September 30th. I had thought that I finished a draft-ish before, but this was really a draft where I was like, okay, yes, this is the full vision of the book. In 2020, I did a 12-month essay generator with Chloe Caldwell. And at the end of that, I had a complete draft, but it really wound up being what I realized was 2 books. So anyway, this year on my birthday, I finished the first full draft of this memoir. And then like a week later, I made my New York Times debut with one of the essays from the memoir, and it was very exciting. It ran in the episode column, and I had such a lovely editing experience. It was so fun to hear from people too, like people from my hometown and other writers. So I was hype on that. It didn't wind up helping me as much as I thought book-wise, but it's nice to have that byline. And I have done some rewriting on my manuscript since then, over the last few months, but I need to do one more pass before I really start sending it out. And so that's what I am going to be focusing on these first few months of 2024. And that's like my big goal for the year. So back to 2023, my agent and I went out with another book proposal in May. And unfortunately, no one from our initial round bought it. And the initial round was pretty big. There was one editor who wanted it, but he couldn't get his acquisitions team on board. So that was a bummer. I think I thought the concept was so good that, I don't know, I can see how if I do the research, if I actually like do the work of writing the book, even though it's just on proposal at this point, I think I can sell it. And I actually want to do a podcast version first to help with some of that research and as like a proof of concept. And I have some ideas for potential partners for that. So that's another big goal for 2024 that came out of a failure from 2023. And then I have another book proposal that I wrote at the end of 2022. And then I rewrote it at the beginning of 2023. And I want to do one more pass and expand on it and then take that out for the first time this year. And I think it's a really good concept. There's just some like external kind of things that I want to take care of and be well positioned to take this out. So that's a goal for 2024 as well. And unfortunately, my beloved dog, Georgia, died on December 9th. Truly like the worst, most painful thing that was just completely unexpected. She was 14 and she's just been so healthy. Anyway, I fucking love this dog so much. She's been my best friend for 13 years, and it's been really hard to lose her. And I've just been grieving really hard over the past few weeks. And anyway, I started writing about the experience of losing her, and I would love to do several essays or maybe even a collection about her this year. I just would love to do that in her honor. So we'll see. And then I have one more book in progress that I want to finish the manuscript for. It was a part of my memoir previously, and I ripped it out this like theme, and I want to do a whole book about it. So I have pages already, but I want to finish the manuscript for that. And I want to do it when my first memoir is ready to go on submission. So that is another goal for 2024. And this year in 2023, I got bylines in the New York Times, Inside Hook, Descript, and the Los Angeles Public Press. I think that's everything. I tried to look through. I might be missing something, but it was 8 news stories. And I want to get a lot more bylines in 2024. I really want to get like 4 times that many bylines.
and I want to sell at least one book this year. And I'm still going to podcast. I have 3 podcasts. So in addition to this show, The Bleeders, about book writing and publishing, I also have Private Parts Unknown about love and sexuality around the world, and Podcast Bestie, which is a best friend to indie podcasters. But I am going to be scaling back a little bit on podcasts. I'm still going to show up on all my feeds, but I'm going to be really intentional about, it's maybe a less is more approach. And I'm just going to do all bangers and just be really focused on how I spend my energy podcasting in 2024. That is an intention I am setting. I started teaching for 2 new places in 2023, Write or Die, which is a part of Chill Subs, and Roadmap Writers. And I had awesome experiences with both. And I'm doing more in 2024. So if you want to start a podcast in the new year, I have a 5-week class for Roadmap about creating your podcast starting on January 13th. It is going to be the perfect kickstart. In fact, I'm going to be working on my new podcast alongside my students. And then on January 21st, I'm teaching a 1-day workshop on starting a newsletter and how you can use your newsletter as a platform builder, as a way to create networking opportunities for yourself, and as like the linchpin of your business. And I am so excited about this workshop. I taught it last year and I did so much work and research putting it together. So it's not just my learnings, but it's research backed too. And I'm making it even better for 2024. So I encourage you to join us if you want to start a newsletter. It's just $75. I think it's so much value for $75. And then in March, my writer platform workshop is going to be back for the 3rd time. I taught that twice in 2023 and it was wildly popular and it keeps getting better every freaking time. This one I have a lot of experience in and I did a lot of research for too. So this one's a banger as well. If you want more info, you can check out the episode description for my upcoming workshops, or you can go to CourtneyKosak.com/links and I have all that info there. And I just came up with a new workshop idea over the last couple days that I'm really excited to pitch. So you'll probably hear about that in the next few months too. I love teaching and I definitely want to do more of that in 2024. So that is it for this edition of The Bleeders. Thank you so much for joining me. I am wishing you so much happiness and health and writing success in the new year. And if you missed the last episode with Chelsea Martin, make sure you go back and check it out. Chelsea is a prolific indie powerhouse and her interview was so good. So here is a little preview of that conversation.
So I think even in college, I was trying to write about my relationship with my dad and all the weird things he did to me. And I was always trying to fictionalize it and make it something else. And it just never worked. And, I just couldn't let it go. I just kept trying. So eventually I was like, I'm just going to write an essay. I'm just going to get it out plainly and truthfully. And then once I did that, it felt over for me, which was a very just freeing feeling because I was so wrapped up in it and had such a hard time with it for years.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Bleeders. Writing is so much better with friends. I'm your host, Courtney Kosak, and hey, let's connect on social media. I am at Courtney Kosak, that is Kosak on Twitter and Instagram, and make sure you're signed up for the Bleeders Companion Substack. There is a link in the episode description for that. And I am currently publishing the podcast on an erratic schedule. I fully admit I am a little more writing focused right now, but I do have new content that is almost ready for you, that is coming down the pike. So make sure you're following the show on your favorite podcast player to get notified of the latest episodes. So on Spotify, it's like a bell button and the follow button. And on most players, it's just a follow or a subscribe button. But if you press that, you will get notified of the latest, and I will be back in a few weeks with a new interview. In the meantime, happy bleeding.